Welcome to the Veterans Impact Show, where our commitment is to help, hope, and healing of our veteran family and our nation. I'm Jim Blythe, a U.S. Navy veteran and a certified senior advisor. Join us as we continue the mission of leadership and commitment to our communities and our great country. Why, you never know where we're going to go or who you're going to meet. We invite you to join in, plug in, and share in what we do. This is your Veterans Impact Show. Hey, great day to you. I'm excited about today's program. This is going to be amazing, and you're going to meet two amazing people. Many of you already know one of them, but I want to introduce Cedric White, my co-host, minister of the church that I go to, a marriage counselor who is amazing at doing veterans marriage counseling with his wife. And I got to tell you, I think every Sunday you read my mail, I'm going, how'd you know, Cedric? How'd you know?
I have a great connection.
You do. Yeah. You have a great connection. I also want to thank DBTV Network for carrying us around the world. Also, the AUN out of California. I want to say a special thank you to Fairway Independent Mortgage, my company I work for. My NMLS number is 311548. Theirs is 2289. And Symbios Integrative Health, they do a lot to help veterans. So, with further ado, I got to tell you, the Marine has landed. I've known this guy about 10 years, and he is an amazing U.S. Marine, has a fantastic construction company over in Fort Worth, and you worked your way up, and you were state commander over the state of Texas, and now you're running for junior vice commander nationally?
Yes, sir. National Junior Vice Commander in Chief.
Oh, wow. So ultimately, you will move up the line and be commander-in-chief of the entire VFW nationwide.
That's the goal.
Wow. One of the reasons I became friends with Lynn, besides we do a lot of stuff in the same arena, one of the things I said to him when I first met him was, Lynn, I don't like to go to the VFW because it's a smoky old bar and guys older than I am are sitting around getting drunk talking about their battles. He said, I'm going to change that. And you have been. You have been getting more young people involved. You're getting more people going, and you've made it much more relevant to today's society.
Well, it's not just me. There's a whole team of us out there that have done it, but we all have the same goal in mind.
I got to tell you, knowing you, I wouldn't mess with you. If you told me to do something, I'm doing the push-up. Also, you brought a guest with you. Fantastic. She is state surgeon for the state of Texas.
Yes, sir.
Meet Andrea Ortiz. Andrea, welcome aboard.
Thank you for having me.
You are a U.S. Navy veteran as well.
I was a Navy veteran. I served on board 2 aircraft carriers as a bosun mate.
I know. I got to tell you, you don't look like any boatswain mate I ever saw, but that's a compliment.
Breaking down barriers.
So, as State Surgeon General, what do you do? What do you help out VFW with?
My main mission is to be the voice and the liaison between Texas VFW members, their families, and the VA. So I meet with executive leadership from VAs across the state of Texas to bring our challenges to them and find solutions. I also listen to their challenges and see how we can work together to best support them in their efforts. Educate, I host a Healthcare for Heroes huddle once a month, and I bring guest speakers on to speak about different benefits and resources that may be available to them. And I just, try my best to really drive home the education portion, because the more informed we are, the better equipped we are to make positive choices or more appropriate choices for our healthcare and the healthcare of our families.
I have heard, Lynn, from so many veterans coming out, well, I know I went through this class. Andrea, you may have gone through it too, but I don't know what to do, and what do I do? And I'm lost. And I have said, go to the VFW. If you qualify, if you don't qualify, you can be an auxiliary member. Go American Legion. Go get involved. Get plugged in. That's important. And I got to tell you, in doing that, there are relationships to develop. There are people to get to know. Mm-hmm. Lynn,
you and I both know, having been around a long time, it's not what you know sometimes, it's who you know that counts.
Amen.
Amen?
Amen.
So I think one of the most important things to talk about then is the importance of being in VFW. VFW does more for veterans than any other organization in the United States. You've said that to me a dozen times.
A million times.
A million times? Well, I've known you that long, but I would. So what are some of the things, Lynn, that VFW does besides get together and break bread and have a meeting? What are some of the important things that you guys do and accomplish?
One of the most important things we do, I just got back here in Texas at 8:00 this morning and that's the Washington Conference. Andrea was there. We had approximately 1,000 veterans marching on Capitol Hill yesterday and 2 or 3 days before, going to each senator from each district and telling them what the veterans need, what they wanted, and what we expect of them. We signed a contract when we joined the military. We wrote that permanent check, and we want them to honor the contract that they signed. And that contract does not stop.
That's right. There's no expiration date on that from time we held our hands up. And right now, I'm going to make I try and stay away from political statements, but what we have seen in the last 4 years has been a real decline. And I'm hearing it from all over the United States. And I think a lot of it had to do with them trying to do away with community care and the Missions Act. And I'm hoping and praying that you guys had an impact and can have an impact, because many of the providers of that really got hurt. And a lot of people who were getting their medical needs from community care got hurt. You guys think you made an important impact on that to get that turned around?
Absolutely. Our Commander-in-Chief addressed the Joint Services Committee yesterday, and you want to talk about incredible. He let them know that we were there to get it done. We weren't asking for help. We were demanding it. And we're going to be a lot more forceful. You know, before COVID, we were pretty much out of politics. But once COVID got hit, we were right in the middle of it, and that's the worst thing that ever happened for the politicians, because we're right in the middle of them now.
Well,
they're getting to see a whole lot of us that they're not used to seeing.
Here's one of the things, if you're not a veteran and you're watching this program, let me tell you something. Veterans lead the way. Whatever happens in the veteran community, although it's small, has an impact throughout this nation. Whatever is accomplished. So one of the things, we've got veteran suicide. That's a big issue. The opioid crisis, that's a big issue with prescription drugs. You know, probably one of the biggest problems in this nation when you talk about the veteran crisis in terms of opioids and suicide is it permeates the whole nation.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Cedric and I were talking earlier that there are children as young as, what'd you say, 6 years old?
We're having numbers 6 and 7 year olds committing suicide.
Oh.
Yeah.
And teenage suicides through the roof.
Right.
So it's not just our veterans. One of the other things is when a member of a family commits suicide, the children are exponentially higher prone to do the same thing down the road.
Yeah. The
It's
percentages
as if
go up.
their parents gave them permission.
Right.
And so these are things that we need people like Andrea and Lynn to really pound in, because it's not just about veterans. Lynn, it's about this whole nation.
Oh, absolutely. No doubt about it. And we were on Capitol Hill pounding it for a whole week. Doesn't get any better than that.
Well, the smoke hadn't cleared yet, but I have a feeling what we've seen in Washington, we're going to get some real positive changes, and it's going to wake up. We're going to wake up some bureaucrats that need to, shall we say, retire.
Oh, absolutely. We've got a lot of those bureaucrats that never served in the military. Don't know what it means. They're glad to send us over there, but they're not so happy to take care of us when we come back torn up and beaten up. So we're making sure that they understand what we need, and we're going to keep doing it. One of the great things about the VFW, Jim, is our headquarters, our DC headquarters. You can look right in the Capitol. So we're right there on the doorsteps, and we're going to stay there.
I think that's
until
a good thing.
we've got accomplished the mission.
All right, let's talk about, first and foremost, many of the things the VFW does. Number one, we get together. I'm a life member of the VFW. I am a Vietnam veteran, 3 combat tours. But let's start with the youngest, the children. You guys are the big proponents in high schools for JROTC. You do a lot. You give out a lot of awards. You do a lot with them, with their campus team.
Oh.
Tell us a little bit about it, because your impact on the youth is amazing.
Yeah, we are definitely, here in Fort Worth and all across the country, we are plugged in with the junior ROTCs. We go over for their meetings every month. We take care of them. Just about anything they need, we take care of in all of our local communities, our big cities. Everywhere we go, we take care of them. We go over and cook hot dogs and hamburgers for them. Whatever they need, we get them taken care of.
And Lynn, by having veterans show up with these kids, you're mentoring them. You're showing them what it is to be involved.
Absolutely. We're showing them what service is all about.
Yeah.
And continuing service after the fact.
And Cedric, you and I have talked so many times because we did that deal that you put together for communication in families.
Right, Living X.
Living X. I got to tell you, that was amazing about communication within families with teenagers. What is probably the percentage of single parent families across the United States?
It is depending on where you get your numbers. You're talking anywhere from 45, any reports say 45 to 60. It is that bad.
Yeah.
It is at that point now, and then you're looking at the age differences and things like that. So it makes a lot of difference. And I love just looking at the screen right now. I'm looking at Andrea, right? I'm looking at me. I'm looking at you. I'm looking at Lynn, right? So now we're closing that gap, right? It used to be like you said, you go to the VFW and there's just a bunch of old people sitting around, right?
But we got a lady involved,
right.
gentlemen. She may be a boatswain mate, but she is a lady.
Yeah.
We will.
But you're closing the gap, and people. What I know, okay, as a pastor, I know that my young people are more apt to listen to a young person. Right.
Oh, yeah.
I love the fact that Andrea is here, and she could probably not just young people, but young women, right? Because we deal with a lot of vets. We deal with a lot of women. And one of the hardest things that we have is to get a woman to go and engage with the VA. We have a real big problem with that. And so just the image there with Andrea being here, I think it'll make a big difference.
Okay. We talked about the youth. March is also women's.
Exactly.
Month. So, Andrea, is one of the things that you're being able to do by being a beautiful lady, veteran, stand up and say, hey, follow me. Let's go get you the benefits you need. That's part of what you're doing?
Absolutely. I mean, I have created like a veterans resource guide. You know, it's equipped with both local, statewide, national resources. I have that both printed and in PDF version, but I lead by example too, right? If I can't say join the VFW or get involved with the VFW and go into the VA and get care because you should, and if I'm not doing that, right? So I have done that. I can share with them, you know, my experiences and, you know, kind of navigate that system for them. So just being there, being involved, knowing who to go to, who to send them to, you know, because not everybody's out there to help veterans and not everyone has that good intention. So just making sure that you are closing the gap, closing the circle with each veteran that you encounter, especially our women veterans who may not have that knowledge, may not know what's out there. Like specifically, like for example, I come across so many women veterans who don't know that the VA has a center for women veterans. They have a dedicated line, you know, call center line where they can email, they can text, they can call, and it's specifically set up for women veterans. Like just little snippets of information like that can make a world of difference. So yeah, I just try to educate and guide them and lead by example.
Andrea, that resource guide that you were talking about, is that just downloadable from the VFW site?
It's not on the site. However, I can easily share that with you all via email so you can disperse it and share it far and wide.
That would be wonderful.
It's meant
That would be
to,
wonderful.
really help everyone, not even just women veterans, also male veterans or family members who may not know about what's out there. Because if the women veteran's not willing or able to open up that guide, perhaps a family member, their support system will be able
Exactly.
to kind of like convince them to get the care that they deserve and need.
I think that's one of the biggest things that you're doing and what Lynn is doing. You guys are creating a community, right? And people feel more connected. We come with you've studied this probably in your studies. We come with a sense of belongingness, and even gangs. People join gangs. Why? Because they want to belong to something. And as people retire from the military, as people are discharged, they need a community and a place that they can go and get resources. VFW is that place.
All right. I think now, Andrea, do you have a contact email that we could post? Can you give that to us and we'll put it up? So if people want to contact
Absolutely.
you, what's your email?
It is andrea.ortiz.vfw@gmail.com.
All right, Diane's got that. Andrea?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Andrea Ortiz at VFW dot.
No.
Okay.
Andrea.ortiz.vfw@gmail.com.
Okay, we've got it. And we're going to be putting that up. All right, we're going to go for a break for just a second to hear from our sponsors and the people that help us, Fairway, Symbios, and Healing Thine Heart's Ministry
Yes,
that
sir.
Cedric and Michelle do for marriage counseling. Andrea, you need to talk with Cedric. You guys need to connect
Yeah.
because they do it all over the world. It's important that you join up. You go find out about a VFW. It's not your granddaddy's smoky old bar. Some cases it is, but for the most part, it's changed to be much more relevant. When we come back, we're going to talk about a whole lot more about VFW. This is your Veterans Impact Show. We're here for you. We want you to join us and join VFW. We'll be right back after all of these words from all the people who support us. Thank you for being on board. Welcome back, and thanks to our great sponsors, Fairway Independent Mortgage, Healing Thine Heart's Ministry, and Symbios Integrative Health. Now, let's get back to this conversation.
Well, welcome back. I'm Cedric White, co-host of the Veterans Impact Show, here with the man, Jim Blythe. The man, Jim Blythe.
The old man.
I didn't say that. I didn't say that, Jim. And we have a couple of great guests. We have Lynn Toomer and Andrea Ortiz from the VFW. This being, if I recall, Women's Month for
Absolutely.
VFW, right? And so we want to talk about that. Can you tell us a little bit of what the VFW is doing in reference to focusing on women veterans?
I mean, just the fact that we're being so inclusive in regards to not allowing, that's not the right word. It's inviting women veterans to sit on these leadership positions. Me, for example, I'm the state surgeon of the Department of Texas VFW. I mean, that's a great honor in and of itself. But the great strides that we've made as an organization to include, us younger veterans, but women veterans. On top of that, we have amazing district commanders. We have amazing post commanders. We have just legislative chairs. The list goes on. Not only that, but we're also just serving our women veterans, right? Providing them, connecting them with resources, supporting them in any way that we can, educating them, providing for them and their children should they face homelessness, should they face, other social determinants of health like food insecurity, isolation, things along those lines. We're holding resource fairs with our community partners. So just really, again, closing the gap with everything surrounding women veterans.
You know, it wasn't that many years ago, because I was talking to a Vietnam era female veteran, and she said, you know, I got out and I went to I went to the VA. I said, what are you doing here? Well, I'm a female veteran. We don't know what to do with you. That has changed. It's totally different. So if you're a female veteran of any of the United States military, combat or not, they want you to come, get signed up. And I got to tell you, if you were in some of the theaters, you might, qualify for the PACT Act. That's amazing. I did, and I was Vietnam. Now, one of the other things, Lynn, you pointed out, this is the latest copy of the VFW magazine, and on it is all ladies. And the new commander of VFW is a lady. This lady right here. What's her name?
That is Carol Whitmore. She's our incoming commander-in-chief.
So that's how important it is to not only our VFW, but today's military, to have women be involved, women in leadership positions. And I think that's incredibly important. So we've talked about ROTC. We've talked about women. Let's talk for just a second about the enormous scholarship programs that are nationwide the VFW does. Matter of fact, you just had a winner for $35,000. Only he wasn't there; he was sick.
Right. Called in sick on us, so we had to put him up on a big screen and let him watch himself get awarded $35,000 and not even be in the crowd.
How about that?
But hey, it's an awesome program. You got the VOD and the Patriots Pen. The Patriots Pen is for 9th through 12th, and the VOD is for 6th through 8th grade. And those scholarships start at the post level, district level, state level, and then all the way to national. So they're great programs. If you've got young kids, if you've got kids in high school, get involved. Go to your local VFW, ask them for the paperwork, or you can get on the texasvfw.org website and get all the information you need for the VOD Patriots Pen. But yeah, we do 1.4 million just at the national level. And that doesn't include everything done across the states.
I know Army Scholarship Foundation. I know AER, Army Emergency Relief, Navy and Marine Corps Relief. I know there's an Air Force. You're doing more nationwide than those guys are, I believe, in terms of scholarships.
Absolutely.
And these scholarships make all the difference, because Diane and I work with the Army Scholarship Foundation here in Dallas. And when a kid gets a scholarship, it may not be huge, but what it is they're vetted, they know. Yes. And then they go out and they cobble together other scholarships. And some of these kids get through college debt-free.
Right.
Debt-free. But it's a huge thing. And it's very, very, very important. So not only I want to mention, because everybody went to high school, and I did here in Dallas, and there was an ROTC program. Mm-hmm. A lot of people don't know there is a Navy Sea Cadets program, which is an ROTC type program. There's also Young Marines, and man, we drill next to the Young Marines at the Joint Reserve Base. There's also your Air Force, I believe that's, I can't think of the name of it, Civil Air Patrol.
I think so,
that's
yeah.
Air Force. And so you've got organizations where a young man or a young woman can be involved and learn all about the military in a totally safe environment. And it is such a thing. It's such a huge thing. These kids, when we see them, and we're going to be working with them this weekend, they're amazing. Every one of these kids graduates from high school. You know, Richard over in Fort Worth, who runs that JROTC program.
Yep.
Plus our Sea Cadets program. I know Jim Brown down in Austin, who handles the whole region. The graduation rate from high school of a kid in one of the military programs is like 99+%.
Wow.
Okay? What's your national average of graduation from high school? somewhere around 60%.
Yeah,
It's not great.
It's not great.
if they're lucky.
Right.
And so kids are getting a chance to be mentored. Kids are getting a chance to learn from great instructors. This is a huge program. ROTC, Sea Cadets, Civil Air Patrol, Young Marines, they're all great. Now, we're going to take another break to hear from our sponsors. And I want to tell you, Fairway Independent Mortgage just got voted as one of the best places to work in the United States. And there was an article on the cover of Newsweek magazine, from what I understand. I haven't seen it. This is a great place. We provide service dogs. We have provided over $1 million worth of service dogs to veterans. We're a very veteran-oriented company. We're a faith-based company. Fairway Independent Mortgage. Look it up. It's on the website. So we'll be right back after these words from all of our sponsors. Thank you for being a part. Share this, but also join VFW.
Welcome back, and thanks to our great sponsors, Fairway Independent Mortgage, Healing Thine Heart's Ministry, and Symbios Integrative Health. Now, let's get back to this conversation.
All right, welcome back. And again, Cedric White, co-host here with Jim Blythe, our host of the Veterans Impact Show. Got our great guests today, Lynn Toomer and Andrea Ortiz, joining us, talking about the VFW. Here's the thing, as we were talking about the ROTC. I guess I'm older than I thought. ROTC. There's a lot of things, as I think back in high school, that I did not know because I wasn't prepared to go to the military. Had I known about the ROTC, had I known the opportunities that were there, I would have jumped on that. And I think there's some information that we're remiss in not getting out to our high school kids now, for those of us who have served and those who have the opportunity to serve. And I think VFW, even for people coming out, would be the very first place they might want to start to get information about benefits of the VA, because I was afraid. Well, I wasn't so much afraid as I was, I just refused to go to VA. I thought it was far too much red tape. It wasn't worth my time. Had I known, there were years of benefits that I missed. And had I been engaged with VFW, I would have known better. And so I think that might be a very good place for people to start when they get discharged, is with the VFW.
Absolutely. Now, you don't have to be a member of a veteran of a foreign war. You can be an auxiliary member, correct?
Correct. You can be an auxiliary member. If you're just a veteran, you can come in and we will help you. Period. End of story. We're not just for the VFW. So if you need any help like that, go to your local VFW post, tell them the situation, and let's see what they can do for you.
And I think that's a misnomer, Lynn, that most people think, because I did. Veterans of foreign wars, where we were in peacetime. My whole time, I think we had the Lebanon crisis. That was it. So I never was involved in theater or anything, but had I known. So now, for a lot of those who are learning, who are listening, they're learning, hey, you can go to the VFW and still get resources. That's a wonderful thing.
Absolutely. We're here to help all veterans.
Oh, without a doubt. And again, it's not just veterans we're helping, because we help this whole nation. When we help one person, we're helping across the board, the whole nation, and especially with youth programs. And I got to tell you, the Navy, I'm third generation Navy. Going into the Navy was the best thing in the world for me. I was too young and too immature when I went to SMU. You guys can't even imagine that, can you?
Yes, I can.
Well, let's put it this way. I partied myself all the way into Vietnam after a year and a half. But what I encountered in the men that I met and the people that I met and some of the women that I met, and that was back in Vietnam, were truly, truly amazing human beings. My DI, his story had actually been made into a movie. He and 3 other guys were trapped in China when the Japanese invaded, and the 4 of them walked 1,250 miles to get to Vladivostok, and they were so shocked, the Russians turned them over to the Americans. men like this who are driven, and even not everybody does combat. Not everybody is on the front lines,
Right.
but they learn something. I learned something, and this is important. It's also important that we have advocates now, and it's really important because again, we've had 4 bad years, is my opinion. It's what's happened to the VFW, and not VFW, but to the American veteran in the VA. And I don't care who wants to argue with me on that. I can provide you with the statistics. It's been sad and it's been bad, and that affects everybody in this country. And I think we are turning this around, especially with meetings like what you're doing. Now, we've talked about scholarships, we've talked about that. Lynn, let's also, and Andrea, talk about what we do for families, families of active duty or families of veterans, because you've got special programs for them as well, don't you?
Oh, absolutely. Just for an example, we've got a post on Fort Hood, and that's all they do is take care of the veterans and their families. When the units deploy, they're the first ones to know about it, and they go out there and they cook. They call it a family day. They go out there, cook lunch for them, cook dinner for them, make sure the troops get off, and then when the families are having issues, the families call the VFW commander or the VFW service officer and get the help that they need. And the base loves it because we take a load off of them.
Yeah.
Well, is this the only base in the United States with that?
Currently, this is the only base in the United States that has an active duty VFW post on it.
Man, we need an active duty VFW post. I would like to go and help with the one in Coronado. I bet you'd like to go there too, Andrea.
I would. You can sign me up.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you can join up and come with my squadron. I think we're going to be doing our reunion in Coronado now. I'm excited about that. And so I'm ready to go. And that's one of the things. Lynn said it. I'm a part of it. So is Lynn. So is Cedric. You make lifelong friendships. And it really counts because the things you went through are so binding together. So we've talked about that. How about education? How about transition from military to civilian? What is VFW doing in that regard?
That was one of our big talking points, talking to all these senators, is the TAP program, the Transitional Assistance Program that is in the military right now. They've got it. Some of them use it, but it's not mandatory.
Oh, I didn't know that.
It takes a year to process out. It's what's supposed to happen per the TAP program. But some of these units, because of operational readiness, do not give their comrades time to do that. So they get 30 days to process out.
Wow.
And you cannot process out properly in 30 days and get all the information that you need. And that's one of the reasons, that's one of our big talking points, is because we're requesting and telling them that we need a VFW certified operator at every TAPS program in the country.
You know,
So
Lynn,
we can make sure the veterans are taken care of before they get out. The comrades that go through the TAPS program properly have all their disabilities and everything when they walk out the door. Do you know how much help that is
Oh,
to,
yeah.
a young veteran getting out of the military with some money in his pocket and having some income set up already?
Yeah.
That gives him the future that he deserves.
Well, imagine the thought of, when we were talking about suicide, imagine the thought of, I've already got a support system that's already in place, as opposed to, this has been my way of life, right? It's been organized, it's been sort of ordered for me. And then all of a sudden I'm just out and I have no connection. Again, that community, that connection, that belongingness makes all the difference in the world. And if they're set up in the TAP program, then it's already prepared for them when they get out.
Absolutely.
It's wonderful.
When I got out of the Marine Corps in 1997, The TAPS program was a tap on my ass with a boot. Hello, see you later. That was my version of the TAPS
that was the
program.
TAP
Okay, guys.
Okay.
When I got out in 1970, it was like, don't let the gate hit you in the rear end. Goodbye. We don't want to see you again. And I got to tell you, there's so much more. I think one of the things is I had lunch earlier this week with John Keating, who's on the city council up at Frisco, and he's a member of my VFW. And he's a great guy. I'm just amazed. I'm like, when you get through with city council, you need to run for something else. You're good. But these relationships that you make now, you all have something in common. You all have something in common. And I think it helps a tremendous amount. What are some of the other programs that I can't even think of off the top of my head that you guys offer for VFW?
Oh, heck, we've got the VFW Foundation. If you ever find yourself in a bad situation where you need some help paying an electric bill, a water bill, rent, you can get a hold of the Texas VFW Foundation, and you can get that from the same website, texasvfw.org. Go on there, click on Foundation, fill out the applications, and comrades, there's a lot to fill out. So just get used to that. But you fill out the paperwork.
If you're in the military, you're used to that, right?
Yeah.
We know about that.
Yeah, if there's a lot of paperwork involved, but if you need it, take the time, fill it out, and you will get it.
So, Andrea, let me ask you, what drew you to the VFW when you were discharged?
I was hoping you would ask me that question. So I got out of the military, I separated from the Navy, and then I went straight into school. And as I was doing that, I joined the Student Veterans of America. And from there, one of my friends, he invited me to the VFW. And I joined the VFW. I was in a very tough spot. I was getting out, transitioning out. I didn't have a great TAPS program. I didn't have any assistance with my disability claims. I kind of just tried to figure it out all on my own. So having that support would have been great. However, I did gain that support by joining my local VFW. I had the camaraderie. I had, just a plethora of resources that they provided me with that I did not get when I was transitioning out of the military. So that support system really made me want to do more. And, my membership was a small thank you, a very small thank you for the enormous work and dedication and commitment the VFW has done year after year for our veteran service members and their families. So nowadays, people ask me, well, why should I join the VFW? And I say, well, do you enjoy your GI Bill benefits?
Right.
Do you enjoy Impact Act benefits? And those are just a few, right? Well, what makes you think that just appeared out of thin air? It didn't. It was their advocacy, the advocacy alongside other organizations like American Legion, DAV, to name a few. But there's power in numbers. There's power in our membership.
Exactly.
Exactly. Why do you think that they're listening to us as we're here storming the Capitol all week? A lot of these other organizations are only meeting with staffers. We're getting the actual senators and congressional representatives. Why? Because they know that our voice is important. And we wouldn't be able to get there unless we had the membership. So because I've seen it firsthand what they've done for me, even before I even joined the VFW, that's a small token of appreciation on my end. So now I'm a life member.
Andrea, too, a lot of women get out and are told, you don't tell anybody you're a veteran. I've had a dozen women tell me they get out and they go to a company and they go to work. They said, no, don't tell anybody you're a veteran because they're going to be scared to death of you. That's changing. And one of the good things is women veterans, you get health. If you go to the VA, you get health benefits that are for you from right off the bat. That's a huge thing because how much does medical benefits cost right now? I mean, especially if you're going to college. Yeah.
Correct. They're astronomical. And so I had a veteran, I was going to church, I go to church and I have a veteran there who is a West Point graduate. He was paying over $300 in private health insurance through the health market. And he didn't think that he qualified for VA healthcare. And again, it's that education
Exactly.
aspect of it, or lack thereof. So I let him know that he does qualify for VA healthcare. And now, lo and behold, he's enrolled. He is getting the care that he needs for the injuries that he sustained while he was in the Army. And he is saving upwards of $300 a month. And it's just things like that, that is just a true testament of what we do. Again, just really that education portion is so important.
And there are a lot of terrific doctors in the VA. I've got a good one. The VA has got some problems, but it's really, most of the doctors I've met are outstanding.
Yes.
They really are. And they do a great job in taking care of us. So I encourage people to sign up. I encourage people to be involved and get a primary care physician. Be amazed what you can get. Again, I think this is important that we're talking about it and letting people know, hey, we're here to help you also. Whether it's Andrea with VFW or Lynn with VFW or Veterans Impact Show, which we are VFW members as well. We want to be able to help you. And I have had phone calls from all over the United States. I had one from Richmond, Virginia, and I helped a lady get aid and attendance pension for her father, who was a World War II veteran. Made all the difference in the world.
Right.
And I went through a VFW that was in Richmond, Virginia, and they helped them get it. So getting the benefits, you can go to VFW, you can go to DAV, you can go to American Legion. It is illegal to charge. There are scalpers and claim jumpers who say, oh, give us $1,000, we'll get you your VA benefits. That's illegal. Now, if it has to be appealed and you have to do some other work, there are attorneys that can handle that and they can charge something. But with VFW, getting the claim, getting people, we just talked with a foundation out of Oklahoma City, the Dale Graham Foundation.
Yep.
They don't charge anything. These are available to you to get help. And let me tell you something. The paperwork is a pain. One of the things I think we ought to be doing as veterans is storming them and throwing spitballs at them saying, this is from the paperwork. Cut it down. Don't make it so difficult. But it is. And if you don't have a navigator, just like sailing a ship, you don't have a navigator, you're going to be in deep trouble.
But
correct?
Jim, can I say this though?
Yeah.
Even with all of the paperwork, right? The time that it takes is worth the end result.
Absolutely.
Right? It might be a pain in a part of your posterior initially, right? But in the long run, it's worth it. It's worth the benefit, the consequence of going through it. And I'm saying this because I was one of those people who, because I knew it was a lot of paperwork and red tape and it was going to take time. But guess what? I'm so glad that I did it now.
Hey, I did the PACT Act. I'm amazed. I've been taken care of. All right, we're going to come back after these words from our partners. We're just so thankful for Lynn Toomer, VFW, Andrea Ortiz, VFW, Navy, Marine Corps. Okay, I'll take a joke about that one. We'll be right back.
You kept saying Marine Corps.
Welcome back, and thanks to our great sponsors, Fairway Independent Mortgage, Healing Thine Heart's Ministry, and Symbios Integrative Health. Now, let's get back to this conversation.
Well, we're having a great conversation today, Cedric and I, and Cedric is getting a chance to know a great friend of mine, Lynn Toomer, and all that he does. And Andrea, we just love it. And I tell you what, Diane and I get to San Antonio every once in a while, we'll look you up because that's a great, great town. And if we can ever help you, if we can ever do anything for you, please let us know. We're all in. I think it's so important. Again, this is National Women's Veterans Month. Is that correct? So we want all of the women veterans to know you got a safe place to go in the VFW. You've got the opportunity to learn and grow. The other thing we want young women to know, if you're in high school, if you're in junior high, and you want to learn, you want to grow, go take a look at ROTC, Sea Cadets, Young Marines, hoorah, and the Civil Air Patrol for the Air Force. They're taking these kids beyond Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts, and they're teaching them life skills. I've sat there and watched the instructors do triage, first aid training if somebody falls and breaks an arm or do whatever. It's important to have these skills. It's important to develop the resources. It's important for a child to know that they can do things, that they can adapt, improvise, and get things done, right?
Right.
Absolutely.
So we want to encourage, and especially young women, we want to encourage you. Military, you've heard good things, you've heard bad things. It's all up to you. It's all up to you. Andrea, wouldn't you say that?
Absolutely. My time in the Navy wasn't all rainbows and butterflies. However, it built me up to the person that I am today, and I'm very grateful for the experience. You know, I have a bonus daughter that I encourage her if she's, you know, wanting to join the military to do it. I have nieces who constantly ask me, you know, what was your experience in the military? I said, it's what you make of it. So I encourage all women, all young ladies to really look into the opportunities there are by serving in one of our branches of service.
Well, one of the things is you use the Navy, you probably use your VA benefits to go back to school, because I heard you say you went back to college. So did I. And so did you, Cedric.
Yes, I did.
And all of the skills that we learned, all of the things that we did, will somehow or another transfer over to our organizational skills and our business discipline. What's one of the things, Andrea, when it comes to time, if you're 15 minutes late, you're dead. If you're on time, you're 15 minutes late. If you're 15 minutes early, that's where you're on time.
Could somebody explain that to my wife?
Well, she served with you, but I don't think she actually served. And that's important. Discipline, skill, and people. I mean, some of the people I met, some of my pilots that I got a chance to, I was air crew for a while and got to fly with, some of the most amazing men in the world that I get to see them and be with them today.
Still
Same
connected.
thing.
I got a call literally 7:05 yesterday morning. The gentleman that I told you, he served under me in the Navy. He served 41 years in the U.S. Navy. And I told you he had some issues. He got out. He called. We've been checking on each other. And he called me literally yesterday morning. Connection. This was from back in 1982. This guy we're still connected today.
That's great.
Yeah.
Well, we were in Atlanta not too long ago, and we stayed with Ken Adams and his wife. And Ken was the first pilot I ever flew with, and he was the craziest dude I ever saw in my life. I mean, he made Tom Cruise and Top Gun look like a bunch of butterflies.
That was back with the Wright brothers, right?
Well, not quite. We were flying jets, but I got to tell you, these are relationships that mean.
Exactly.
And I was at dinner one night, and this guy said, I want you to meet my dad. And I'm sitting next to his dad, and he's across from me, and I'm talking to this guy. And he's a brigadier general.
Wow.
He grew up, and he was Martin Luther King's best friend.
Really?
He was a Tuskegee Airman. Okay. I got to sit next to a Tuskegee Airman and get to know him.
Wow.
At a VFW.
At a VFW. At a VFW dinner.
You never know who you're going to run into.
You never know who you're never going to know who you're going to meet. And I got to talking with General Boggins was an amazing trip back in history, because I had met Martin Luther King many years before. I think it's important who you know.
Exactly.
Like I said earlier, not what you know, who you know.
Right.
But many times the who you know can lead you into what you know.
I call it blessed by association. right?
That ain't no bad deal.
No, it's who you know. Now there's the flip side, cursed by association, but we try to stay away from that. But who I know, who I'm connected to, will connect me to somebody else. And maybe my friend doesn't know, have the resource, but my friends, aunts, cousins, buddy, that association, that connection makes all the difference in the world. And at the VFW, you can meet people.
All right, I want you to go to the VFW website. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure it out. VFW, and the rest will fall into place. Your local VFW has websites. Your state VFW has websites. They've got information. You want to take a look at scholarship? You want to take a look at what, get involved. And if you're a parent of a high school or junior high school age, take a look. The opportunity. And I know that our school district is saying, oh, we don't want our kids in the military. That's too dangerous. We don't want our kids involved in the military. That's the biggest mistake you can make.
I agree.
Yep.
Biggest mistake you can make. Because when you take a look at kids who went through the military programs, the ROTC programs, Sea Cadets, all of these, 100% of them graduate from high school. You can't say that for a lot of other things. So this is very, very, very important. Pastor Cedric, how
Yes,
about
sir.
taking us out with a prayer?
Will do. Andrea, thank you for being here. We appreciate you, Lynn, for being here today.
Appreciate you.
Father God, in your name, we thank you for this day. We thank you for organizations like the VFW. We thank you for the collaboration that they bring. We thank you for the community that they make. We thank you for all the things that the resources that they make available and the opportunities that they give us. And we ask that you help us to continue to move forward, to help our veterans, to help our families, to help our community, and to help our country. Let this country continue to be one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Amen.
Liberty and justice for all, united together. That's what we're all about on Veterans Impact Show. That's help, that's hope, and that's healing. We're here for you. Check us out, veteransimpactshow.com. And you can go send me an email, Jim at Veterans Impact Show. If you want to go to Cedric, just tell me. We want to help you. We want to be there for you. Have a great day. Thank you for being on board.